this is Jourgensen of Ministry, and you are watching Heavy Consequence.
The new album, Moral Hygiene, once again, a great play on words. Al, which you tend to do with your album titles, but can you talk about, that title in particular and how it relates to the themes of the album?
Well, originally the album was titled Truth Decay. And then Obama put that line in his book when it came out. And everyone started using it. So I was like, damn, man. I'm always like 2 weeks ahead and $1 short. So, and I was having a lot of dental work done during quarantine year. And so I'm like, okay, well, we'll stick with that since I'm getting drilled on every day in my mouth. And so instead of oral hygiene, we made it moral hygiene, which I think is pretty apropos compared to, it's pretty prescient to what's going on right now with the 1-6 investigations and this and that. So, yeah, we need some moral hygiene.
Yeah, and I want to talk about some of the songs on the album. We can talk about Alert Level, which came out last year during the height of the pandemic, just a little bit into it. And obviously, the song title is very apropos, but my assumption is that you wrote that song before the pandemic. Can you talk about the theme of the song, but also that decision to release it early on during the lockdown?
Well, yeah, because we didn't know if there was going to be an industry, a planet, an Earth. So I really thought the song was great. I really liked that song, and that was written about, like, it's mainly, the main focus of it is climate change and planetary conditions. So and then when the pandemic hit, it's like we didn't know if there was going to be an album or what. We just kept recording because my studio's in my house. So we just kept working, but we didn't know if there's going to be a record label or anything to release it. So we said, well, we still can just get it out instead of waiting. And so that's why that came out. But I think a lot of the topics and things on this album are pretty apropos and prescient, actually, as it turns out. So
yeah, and the next single, the recent single, Good Trouble, obviously in honor of activist John Lewis, the title of the song. Can you talk about that song as well as how John Lewis inspired you?
Well, I can't believe not only his storied activism career, because if you notice, Ministry generally doesn't have kind things to say about politicians.
I do notice that.
So and so it was kind of a little bit out of my lane to like actually do a tribute to a politician, but I don't consider him a politician. I consider him a moral human being and an activist and a person who deeply cared about his passions and causes. And just the fact that he wrote that speech before he died, but would not let it be released by the New York Times until the day after he died, I thought was like it made it so much more salient and important than if he would have done it in his last final days live. To just like, okay, I'm dead. This is what I wanted to say the whole time, and now you can't attack me for it. I'm gone. Like, this is the truth. That's all that guy ever wanted, was the truth. And my buddy Arabian Prince and I just decided, like, this is the perfect vehicle for us to hook up on this album, because I've worked with him on the last album as well. So yeah, I think it came out well.
And another song that features a prominent artist is Sabotages Sex, which has Jello Biafra on there. If you talk about that one as well.
Yeah, right. Well, like I said, during quarantine, not only did we do this full Ministry album, but we also did 10 songs for a new Lard album that Jello is currently singing on. And this was actually the 11th song that was supposed to be Lard, but I took that one back and I said, I'll give you these 10 if you put your vocals on this one, and I can use it for ministry. And so we kind of cut a side deal on that, and that worked out well. And we also wound up doing an entire new ministry record that I just haven't sang vocals on yet, but like it's all mixed and ready to go. So we were pretty active during quarantine, actually.
Wow, so you have one whole album in the can, except for vocals, basically?
Yep, sir. And I think it's different than this, but I actually think I like it more. And you always like your new stuff more than your old stuff. But the thing with this is that I really wanted to have these songs on this record, but I'm very persnickety about my vocals because I don't like being the vocalist. You know, I'm a producer and a guitar player and a harmonica player, and vocals are like it's like the grunge part of my job. It's like if I worked at Home Depot or Lowe's, me doing vocals is like me putting away the shopping carts in the parking lot. I just can't stand it. Yeah, but the songs were great. I just couldn't come up with the right vocal for those at the time. And since then, about half the album has been formulated. No title yet, but the songs are there. So the songs are mixed and done, and I'm just waiting on Jello's vocals on the new large stuff. And so next year we'll probably hook up on Zoom again or something and talk about them.
Cool. And you got a very cool cover on there. One of my favorite acts of all time, Iggy and the Stooges. You covered Search and Destroy, and you have Billy Morrison from Billy Idol's band. And I really like what you did with that track. Can you talk about, one, your decision to cover that song in particular, and then your approach to covering such an iconic rock tune?
Well, a lot of people have covered this song, a ton of people. And I wasn't planning on covering this song. It never entered my mind, but I got the long story behind this if you got a minute. So Dave Navarro, Jane's Addiction, etc., Billy Morrison put together this band, and they did this benefit in LA for called Above Ground for suicide prevention for teens. And so they decided to do two albums that they really liked as a band, Dave and Billy, of a David Bowie album. I believe it was Ziggy. I can't remember because I wasn't involved in that. And then an Iggy set. So they did a Bowie set and an Iggy set. And they had various guest singers, Billy Idol, myself, a lot of other people involved. And at any rate, so I went to sound check, and I did the two songs that I was supposed to sing. I can't even remember the second one at this point, but I remember Search and Destroy, and it went off great at sound check. But then we went backstage, waited for the show to start, and trust me, make a mental note, never take a joint from a stranger. I mean, I'm a heavy pot smoker, but I know where it comes from. It comes from my own hand. And so I took someone else's joint backstage, and I got up on there, and what sounded great at sound check all of a sudden sounded underwater, and I was doing it like in halftime. So we slowed the song down. And the next day after doing that, I phoned up both Billy and Dave Navarro and said, dude, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened, man. It was great at sound check. My bad. And they went, no, man, we got to do it the way we did it that night at your studio. And so that's how it became to be. So it was kind of like a redemption song, but still, I didn't want to put it on the record till I sent it to Iggy and got his thumbs up. And he listened to it, and he doesn't understand how we came up with it that way, but he gave us the thumbs up. So he said, yeah, why not? Put it on there. It's a fun song.
Very cool. And you mentioned Dave Navarro, and I remember a few years back, I think it was Navarro, you performed Every Day is Halloween for the first time in God knows how many years, 30 something years. And it brings me to the next song, Believe Me, which kind of has a little bit of that old school ministry sound to it in terms of the music. And I would love to hear more about that song. It also has a lot of political sampling. There's some Trump lines in there as well. But I'd like to hear about that one, that decision to kind of return to that old school sound, but also the theme of the track itself.
No, that one was just a jam that started out with the people that were here in the studio. I believe it was Cesar Soto, Billy Morrison, and Dave Ellison. You know, so we just started jamming on something, and it became something. And the vocals, yes, are much more back to the day Ministry vocals, but the music, it wasn't meant to be that way. It was just kind of a jam that we just went like, wow, there's something to this, and then I layered the vocals over that, and of course, it's like the only song I've ever done that my daughter loves, of course. Believe me, you know. So it all worked out good, but yeah, that was also kind of spontaneous on how that came together.
Cool. And you guys are going on tour this fall with the Helmet and Frontline Assembly. Fingers crossed.
Cool.
It actually brings me to my question, actually, because you know, a large percentage of the U.S. population has not gotten vaccinated, and there's kind of this debate on whether concerts or public, you know, like theater or other
mandates. I'm all for it.
You're all for it.
I'm all for it. I'm with the Foo Fighters on this one. Mandate it. You want to go to a restaurant? Why should you be able to just put other people in danger because of your own selfishness? Yes, me, of all people, you know this from my career, do not trust governments, okay, or government policy. But I do trust science. And the science is there. Look, when I was a kid, we had to have measles and polio vaccines. Nobody squawked then. Nobody thought it was like alien digital chips being put in you. It's just like, look, this is killing a buttload of people. Let's stop this. We have the science to do this. And it stopped. And that's all this is. But everyone's making it out to be, in this current political climate, to be some kind of massive cover-up conspiracy, Hillary's emails, Benghazi, whatever, okay? It's not like that. It's science. Get double vaxxed or single vaxxed, not as effective, but get double vaxxed and go do everything that you liked before. Now, the thing why I got vaxxed is not to make society so we can go back to what we were. It's so there's enough of us alive to make society what we want it to be. So this year has been a timeout for the world. Actually, the earth loved it. The earth got cleaner, you know, for a minute there. We can make a better future, but we need to listen to science, and we need to get away from the dogma and the dog whistles of mainstream media and social media. I can't believe mainstream media gives as much time to people with no point, just white grievance, as they do to people with a point to make, i.e. scientists. It's like equal, it's 50-50. It's like they're supposed to be equal. No, they're not equal. Like I said, the main case in point, polio and measles. You know, nobody squawked then. Everyone was happy about like how great science is. Now they're trying to make science bad. No. I'm with what's that guy's name that did that song? Oh, Thomas Dolby. Science. You know, like let's do it. And if we all turn into lizard alien hybrids, fine. We'll all be that way. I can't wait to go on some dating app with lizard people. That'd be awesome. You know, whatever. Just get your vax. Go enjoy your shows. Enjoy your restaurant, your movies. Let's get the entertainment business back in. Let's get artists back to work. Everyone's all, you know, talking about, you know, frontline workers, whether that be checkout counter at Walmart or, you know, emergency room nurses or whatever. It's all really important. Well, you know what's important for society too? It's art, and right now we're all stuck. We're just kind of, nobody knows what to do. So I actually have a feeling that we're going to see some really great music in the next couple of years because people have been shut up for a whole year and they've just been recording like I have, and but we can't have those be super spreaders. I don't want to be responsible for a single death at one of my shows. You know, so just get vaccinated, have fun, come see us. We're vaccinated. Hey, problem solved.
And hopefully the tour does go off. That will mean this country's in a better place than it is right now. But you will be out in support of the new album, but you'll also be celebrating the belated 30th anniversary of The Mind Is a Terrible Thing to Taste. Can you just quickly just go back and just your kind of memories, your quickest memories of recording and releasing that album in particular?
Well, what's funny about that album was that it was almost like the same thing. It was almost like a quarantine for us. We block booked a studio for an entire year. And then during that year, we did not only Mind Is a Terrible Thing to Taste, did a Palehead record, did a Thousand Homo DJs record, did a Revco record, and got the basics down to Psalm 69 all in that year of like self-quarantine. And this year we kind of did the same thing. So it's kind of full circle for me. So it ties in with what we're doing. And we'll be playing a couple of the new songs from this album on this tour, along with like things that we recorded during our last quarantine, which is about 5 or 6 songs from The Mind Is a Terrible Thing to Taste, a couple songs from Palehead, Thousand Homo DJs, this and that. It's almost like a quarantine remix. Like,
Yeah.
I just hope it happens.
Yeah. Oh man, you got me excited. All those releases you mentioned were, incredible. I love that Palehead release with you and Ian MacKaye. Really, really good stuff. And I wanted to ask you, I know we're running low on time, but 9 Inch Nails were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame last year. And it could be very well argued that, Ministry kind of set the foundation, for Trent Reznor and a lot of the industrial bands to follow. Do you have any thoughts on the possibility of Ministry ever being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and what your reaction, the chances are of that happening?
That's beyond my control. And what I think the chances are slim to none. But who knows, man? This is hands, not mine. Who knows?
Well, you got a voter right here in me if it ever comes down to it. I'd like to see you guys in there. And one more. You were obviously an outspoken critic of Trump during his tenure in office. He's no longer there, and it's now 6 months into the Biden administration. Do you have any feelings on the last 6 months so far and what the White House has been able to accomplish, and the contrast to what Trump and Trump's 4 years?
Well, I mean, Trump was just basically a kleptocracy. The same thing as like Putin in Russia, or Orban in Hungary, or Lukashenko in Belarus. It's just a grifter. It's a mafia family running a country that gets the keys to an army and nuclear weapons while they just enrich themselves. They don't give a shit about the public. They don't give a shit about anything else, just enriching themselves. So, but that's dangerous. And so Biden, yeah, whatever, same stuff, good intentions, but it's still the same overlords that run the whole thing. It's the same overlords that stopped Trump from starting a nuclear war just so he can get elected or something, or, I mean, he was a real wild card. But the same ones keep a restraint on Biden being able to do stuff that people need, and everything's watered down. But I will say this, in the last 6 months, I've slept better than I did in the 4 years previous, knowing I wasn't going to wake up to some strange faux drama mock tweet that sets off, mayhem every day. It was just like dude, you know, I don't know if Trump was sponsored by the pharmaceutical companies to help sell more Xanax and Valiums, but that's what that last 4 years seemed. It's just like, you know, I can't take this anymore. And so it's nice to be able to sleep at night. Do I think things have drastically changed? No, I think, you know, things are incremental, but hopefully, hopefully some progress can be made soon here. We'll see with our judicial system and our congressional system set up the way it is with the filibuster. That's difficult, but at least I can sleep.
Yep, a lot of us can sleep a lot.
So I don't mind calling him Sleepy Joe. I think that's a good thing. Okay.
That's great. Okay, one more. It's Ministry formed in 1981, which makes this year the 40th anniversary of the band. Did you ever imagine in your wildest dreams that Ministry would still be going strong 40 years later? And can you briefly just tell me what that ride's been like for the last 4 decades?
Ministry lasting 40 years? No, dude. In 1981, I didn't think Al Jourgensen was going to make it to 1985, let alone the band. So, yeah, it's kind of a surprise, and it's in the mortal words of the Grateful Dead, what a long, strange trip it's been. But here we are, and we're, yeah, you know, I've lost some comrades along the way, as you know. But we're still going, one foot in front of the other. That's all you can do.
Well, Al, I want to thank you so much. The album is great. I listened to it a couple of times, really good. And fingers crossed I can see you on tour this fall, and looking forward to it.
Get your vaxes.